Welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. It's your host, Matt Heath. How you doing out there, folks? How are you? It's summertime. Trump's finally wearing a mask. What's the deal with that? I got a show for you today, folks. Eric Pumpkins is on the show. Oh yeah, young, up-and-coming comic. Eric Pumpkins is on the show. Before we get into that, maybe I'll just talk a little bit about what I've been doing lately. I've just been sitting around watching sitcoms, man. I love the craft of comedy as well as stand-up. I love sitcoms, man. You know what show I've been watching is the Jim Gaffigan Show. I don't know if you know he had like a show on TV Land, and it ran for 2 seasons, but it was a great show. I understand they stopped doing the show because his wife got brain cancer. Apparently she's doing a lot better now, but I guess they were going through a rough patch for a while. But I finally got around to watching the 2 seasons of his show, and it was a great TV show, man. You had like all these great places that you could do stand up in New York, like the East Village Comedy Club was featured in an episode. The comic strip, Gotham. You had all the great New York comedy clubs, and it seemed like every episode he ate at Cat's Deli, which I friggin' love. It was just you also had like people like Dave Attell, Artie Lang, Judah Freelander was on it. I definitely recommend that sitcom. Before we get into the show, I just want to say you could buy any of my plays. Scared Out of Dickens, Pawnbrokers, and Renaissance Men, all on Amazon.com. Just type Matt Heath in the search bar, and my plays will pop right up. You could also buy my comedy album on vinyl at Tumbleweeds, Class Clown Revisited. I also have my plays for sale there. There's a couple t-shirts, so if you want to go to Tumbleweeds in Niantic, Connecticut, my merch is all there, man. Eric Pumpkins. One thing I want to say about him is he's got his own TV show on the Public Access and Chill Network. Brian Barganier and Kate Clancy both have this network called Public Access and Chill, and you could watch any of their shows. If you have a Roku TV, you could download the app for free. Public Access and Chill, it is free. And Eric Pumpkins has a show called The Pumpkin Patch, and I'm actually featured in the second episode. I'm all the way at the end, but I'm in the second episode, so check that out, man, and enjoy my interview with Eric Pumpkins. Alright, welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. I'm sitting here with my guest today, Eric Pumpkins.
How we doing?
What's up, man?
Living the freaking dream. Nowhere else I'd rather be on a Saturday in June.
And we're recording outside my apartment today, so hopefully the sound comes out well. But it was just too damn hot inside. We thought we'd record on my back deck. Yeah, it's nice out right here, right?
Not too shabby. A little humid. What are you going to do?
Eric was a little upset that he was using my Yankees coaster inside, but little did he know there's a Red Sox chair out here for him to sit in.
Yeah.
I've never actually sat on it, so it's like if you look at that chair, it's actually a lot less worn out than the Yankees chair I'm sitting in.
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's definitely newer, just like all of the Red Sox World Series rings.
Oh, okay. We decided to go there. Well, I just recently got a recording done. I think even as a Red Sox fan, you're gonna appreciate this. I got Reggie Jackson to do a cameo for the pawn shop I used to work at.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So you can check that out on the YouTube page, fans.
if you'd like to. So, Eric, so much to talk about. I mean, how'd you hold up during the pandemic?
Better than I thought. I live alone as well, so I didn't see anybody that I knew for about 2 months there, until from mid-March until mid-May-ish. Aside from the one time that my mom brought me down some food and whatever. But yeah, so I went 2 months. We didn't see anybody until Mother's Day. I finally broke. I went home, saw everybody, but been better now. Definitely better now. And I was working the whole time, so staying busy.
Did you binge watch a lot of TV shows?
Yeah, but they were kind of the same shows that I've already watched
Which
times.
ones?
Things like Parks and Rec, The Office, Arrested Development. Just I put it on when I'm working so that I don't lose my mind.
Yeah.
So I don't want anything that I have to super pay attention to.
I don't know. I've been binge watching old TV shows too, and I don't know how good it is because it's like I feel like when I'm binge watching an old show, I should be watching the news at that time. Every time I'm watching a show, I'm like, should I be watching the news right now? Should I be reading the paper? But then it's like, it's all bad news anyway. So it's like, I don't know how much I do want to be paying attention to the news.
Yeah, I pay attention a lot. I love the politics and whatnot, but I read all of my news. So I follow news outlets on Twitter and I read it there. Rather than watching TV.
Read news on Twitter, huh?
Yeah.
She like the definition of a millennial, huh?
Yeah, but, some might say that I'm not a millennial. I'm, right on the edge there between millennials and Gen Z.
Oh, really? So, it's weird. I think people talk about the millennials and they're talking about Gen Z, more often.
Oh yeah, they certainly are.
They just labeled everybody as millennials.
Yeah, because all the complaints that old people have about millennials are the same complaints that I have about younger people, and those people are not millennials.
So you're a classic millennial, but you're also an old man before your time, blaming the younger people.
I just I don't get TikTok. I tried it. I don't get it. It's weird. I think it's the death of art.
I mean, I just see it as an app for your phone okay?
Yeah, it survived. I got a good case on there.
I feel like TikTok is I don't really get it, but I realize it's not for me. Isn't it for you're always dancing, don't you think? I'm surprised a guy like you doesn't like TikTok. It's all about dance challenges, isn't it?
It is. It's about dance challenges, but the thing, people get lauded for basically just doing a video they're called dance challenges that somebody else invented the dance and then people are like, oh, this is the funniest thing, this is great. It's like, they didn't do any of it, they just copied a dance that somebody else made up. Who gives a fuck?
Oh yeah, so your problem with it is really the same problem people have with Twitter, or not Twitter, Instagram, where it's you're quote-unquote Instagram famous or you're quote-unquote TikTok famous, where it's what does that even mean?
Yeah, it's I have a friend, I went to college with her younger brother, he's got 50,000 followers on TikTok, and I've watched them, he doesn't do anything, he's just a good-looking kid who doesn't wear a shirt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, TikTok, I discovered TikTok through your Mom's House podcast, really. So I think what they do with TikTok is just amazing because they find all the craziest shit on TikTok and just talk about it. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I am not.
Yeah, that's really the best thing to do on a podcast. Plug other more popular podcasts.
Stop listening now.
So no. So this is the perfect time to transition into. You got your own TV show over the pandemic.
Yes, I did. And you were on it even.
I'm in the end of the second episode.
Hell yeah. It was a hilarious date. I loved it. You really brought it with was it Barry Reynolds was the name?
I did a character called Barry Reynolds. Let's talk about how did this TV show end up coming to be? It's on the public access and chill network, which you could get on any Roku TV for free, correct?
For free.
For
If
free.
you got the Roku, just add the channel,
you-
Public Access and Chill, and you can check out everything that we've ever done.
Yep. So you kind of joined the Public Access and Chill kind of late in the game, because I remember when Barganeer like started this whole Public Access and Chill thing, and now you all of a sudden you got your own TV show on it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's super awesome. Never anything that I expected when I moved here and started doing comedy here. Of course, I was doing comedy elsewhere before, but not what I expected. But they kind of took me in and made me into the psychopath you see before you. But yeah, so I think the first Public Access and Chill stuff I did was recent, like January-ish.
Right.
How
did you end up going like aboard? I realized that you guys we all do stand up together, but how did you end up joining their network?
So they kind of, the first thing was becoming the merch pumpkin. That they put me on all their shows, because we did a show right before Halloween, and it was, I think, like the first like real booked gig that I had in Connecticut. I put on a pumpkin costume and started selling their merch.
Okay, and when you say them, we're talking about Kate Clancy and Brian Barganeer.
Absolutely, yeah, that is them. From the Meat Slap podcast as well. So they were like, you know what? If you're gonna be down to do stuff like this, you can be like our opener. We'll put you on all the shows, whatever. So we started working together and then became very good friends. So then I was with them all the time, so when the new episodes of Public Access and Chill shows like Charlene Cuisine, Public Access and Dill, when they were coming out, they wrote me into them. And then my show came about just in the virtual writers group, which we did every day for 84 days, starting at quarantine, the beginning of quarantine. Brian, something just occurred to him, and he was like, what if we had Eric Pumpkins host a dating show? Just a dumb little idea, but it got positive responses from everybody there.
Yeah.
So he just ran with it. And he talked to our producer, Zach Haberin, who was the best, and was like, yep, we're going to do it. And so it was like within 2 weeks that we had the show up and running.
It only took 2 weeks. That's pretty cool. So I assume it's like how Jimmy Blair has his own show on the Brian just like, or Kate probably just has like an idea, and then whoever,
So
like you or whoever's in their circle just gets a TV show out of the deal.
So it's different. It's actually different. My show was very different. Like Kate actually wrote and scripted Charlene Cuisine before they ever shot anything.
Right.
And she proposed it to Brian, and he liked it. And so that's what it is most people, when they want to do a show, they have to write a pilot and pitch it. And Jimmy did the same. And Jimmy actually had a very lengthy one for Butt Stuff with Jimmy Blair, because he writes out all the dialogue. But mine was just like this, I don't know, free form. All we needed was the structure. We didn't script any of it.
Right.
It was all just riffed. I asked my questions and then we rolled with whatever. So there was no planning outside of, what are the logistics of getting people on Zoom and doing this.
Now, I kind of had the assumption that I was only one of the only comedians besides you on the show. Were you hiring just like any actor willing to be on the show, or how did the hiring process of the people that were the dates on the show?
Yeah, so we just kind of threw it out on Facebook, Brian did all of the booking. Brian and Zach did all the booking. Excuse me, and we kind of took everybody. So we had people from all walks, people who were non-comics, people we'd never met, and just went with it because, everybody was kind of funny in their own way. Because if the point was, if it's a bad date, I'm going to sit there and roast it with the contestants. So the contestants are all comics, like the daters themselves.
Really? Okay, I didn't realize that they were all comics.
Yeah, so, the people who were in your role, who were like the like one of the 7 or 8 dates, they're not necessarily comics, but the people that you were going on the date with
Oh, okay.
were. Yeah.
Okay.
So there was always, we could always get comedy out of it.
Who was the person I was on the date with in that episode? I forget.
Ellie Gennaro. She is a comic from Boston, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ali Gennaro. I thought it went all pretty damn funny because it was. I think the way you had it set up was it left so much room for improv.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it was tight. So it was like you had to, like, know what you were going to do kind of beforehand. You're, like, in this virtual waiting room, whatever. You're, like, thinking, I'm just going to do this, this, and this. And then, you're just on. It's like Saturday Night Live almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I do have to say, that was definitely a great creative breakthrough for the pandemic because none of us were allowed to like physically see or hang out with each other, and that was a way to bring people in.
Right, and I think that the concept of the show was something that was actually doable via Zoom. All of our other shows, Charlene Cuisine, Public Access, and Dill, things like that. You have to be in person to do them.
Mm-hmm.
But this was something that we could do via Zoom. You didn't all have to be in the same room, and I think it's actually easier if you're not. So it worked out that way, that we were still able to do something.
So check out the Pumpkin Patch dating show. That's what it's called, the Pumpkin Patch dating show.
Yes, sir.
On the Public Access and Chill Network. Is there any way you could get it besides the Roku TV?
Everything is available on publicaccessandchill.com on the website. Everything is available there. And, I think that's that. And it's also, we are on public access in several, your local public access channel in several cities and towns in and around Connecticut. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. So check your local listings, folks.
So, how do you feel about stand-up being partially back?
I am really excited. I never stopped. I was doing, stuff virtually. But it is different, being in front of an actual crowd and having a microphone in your hand. And I'm glad that, we're doing the yard shows, which are awesome. And it's able to give us a little bit of a jump on everybody else in terms of getting back to things.
What's the yard show?
So we are, we just put it out on Facebook. Anybody who wanted to do a comedy show in their yard, we will come. We will set it up. You can invite however many people you want. We distance everybody out, and then we show up and we do about an hour-long comedy show.
I'd like to get involved in that. Are you doing any more? Or?
Yeah, we have more. We still have open dates. So Brian would be the guy to reach out to about any of that stuff because he's also doing all the booking. And
all right. What about the Hungry Tiger coming back? How'd you feel about that?
I was surprised.
And you headlined the show basically at the Hungry Tiger the other night.
I don't think I headlined the show. I think our friend Matt Woodland headlined. I think he went last and had that.
Well, what I mean is there was a showcase. You were last on the showcase, and then there was the mic after, basically, right?
I think I went 8th on the showcase.
Oh, okay.
Situation-ish, and Matt went last and had that wonderful heckler situation.
And I had a wonderful heckler situation myself.
Yeah, and I was,
And you had the better zinger for the heckler. Like I was like, I wish I said that when you said what you said to him. I mean, we might as well tell the story of what happened. Which it's starting to rain out here a little bit, folks. So we're debating on whether to go back inside or not. I think we should be good though. All I did was make a joke about delivering a pizza during the pandemic. I had a little Domino's mask and everything.
Yeah, you did like this, it was kind of like tongue-in-cheek, like I'm Italian who delivers pizzas, and then you started going off about, everybody's taking down Christopher Columbus statues.
Yeah.
And you were like fake offended by it, I guess, within your character, and the guy just lost it. He was like, hey, asshole, he was a Spaniard.
Which he was not.
No.
And I didn't even really pay any mind to what he was actually saying to me. I kind of was just so thrown off. Someone would be so offended at like such a stupid joke, you know. I don't know. I kind of like the more years I've been into doing it, like I'm less like threatened by hecklers. You know what I mean? And it's more like I kind of just enjoy the visceral reaction, you know, because especially at a place like the Hungry Tiger, it's like the people sitting at the bar aren't usually paying attention to you anyways. So it's like if they're sitting there getting offended, you know, you're doing something right almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was really something. I don't know. Just reflecting on it moments later, it was just like, wow. Imagine being so impassioned about something when you are completely incorrect. You know.
But it was a premeditated heckle almost. He was looking for something to get angry about because that guy was arguing with me and Rex Caesar before I even went on stage.
Yeah, I heard that, like him screaming at you or Rex. I don't know what it was. I don't know who said what.
Well, he was screaming at. So basically, what happened was, me and Rex are watching Miles on stage,
right?
And the guy, there's a guy standing behind us. They're different from the guy that heckled. Like this guy standing behind us he's like, oh, now this guy's going after the Catholics and blah blah blah, and if you know Miles' mortality at all, he's like a deeply religious guy.
He doesn't consider himself a Catholic, but he is very Christian, very religious dude.
I'm like that guy actually like is Catholic, so like, you know, like whatever, dude. And the guy says something about how he was like working with a jackhammer all day. Like we should be like you know, like he should be able to, you know, yell whatever he wants at a comedy show because he was working with a jackhammer apparently. And then Rex turns around and goes, well, he's like, yeah, I was working with a jackhammer all day. And Rex was much quicker on the draw than me on this. And he's like, I'm working with a jackhammer all day. And Rex turns around and goes, you know, you'll go blind from doing that. So that guy walks away, and then the other guy, apparently he said something to the other guy, and this is the guy that heckled now that's coming up, hearing this joke apparently, so offended, and he goes, what, you think it's funny to make fun of someone who lost an eye using a jackhammer? Apparently the guy actually did go blind in one eye from using the jackhammer at some point, so... He was, and he said that to me, like, I was the one that made the joke. I'm like, first of all, I didn't even make the joke, and second of all, your buddy's fucking heckling the comics over here, so, whatever, dude. And then that's when he said, like, you comics don't even belong.
It's a comedy show, what do you mean? Who does belong here?
I think he just missed the fact that, you know, I think he was starting to enjoy the world the way it is, like, during the pandemic, like, nice and quiet and
I certainly...
not bombarded by comedy, I guess.
certainly think, because people were not happy when we showed up to do open mics pre-pandemic, and they were at their bar drinking and didn't know that a comedy show was about to start happening. So I could imagine that if you become accustomed to being out and about during the pandemic, and then you unknowingly have an open mic foisted upon you, you're not too thrilled about it.
I mean, that's something I don't understand, though, when, like, there's a comedy show going on at a bar. It's like, the owners of said bar are always usually involved and want the show to be there, so I don't understand why customers who, like, hang out in bars feel like they have the right to be like, I don't want the comedy show here, so I'm just going to heckle or do fucking whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, there are other bars. It's like Don does not care. Don is just doing Don all the time, so just very stoic with all these people yelling in his face, somehow.
Yeah. So, When did you get started in comedy? Like a little over a year ago?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yep. I was in college, Colgate, out in upstate New York, and they started a stand-up comedy group.
Did you call it the Colgate Comedy Hour?
No, it was called just Colgate Stand-Up, very generic. And they started that fall of 2016. I didn't get involved until February 2017. It was the spring semester. I had a friend who was in the club. She was hosting her first show, wanted me to do it. I went back and forth. Never thought stand-up was my thing, that I was always more of an off-the-cuff, in-the-moment, react to the situation kind of guy. But I finally said yes, and then it went well, and I didn't stop.
Nice. So, didn't you tell me that your comedy troupe in college was started by the Broken Lizard guys?
No. So we, our stand-up group, had kind of a feud with the improv group that was started by the Broken Lizard guys.
Oh, okay.
They founded Charred Goose Speak, which is an improv group, and they only put on like one show a semester, but would always come at us like we were not good or something when we did. We all wrote 5 to 10 minutes a week, because we did open mics once a week, and then bi-weekly we would do a show on a Saturday. But it was always the same crew of people, so we never worked on material. We were just constantly writing and going up and doing brand new stuff. So we were like, why are you coming at us when you don't have to write anything. You just have to show up and do it for an hour, and you only do it once a semester,
So, but the Broken Lizard guys did go to the same college as you, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of cool, right?
It is kind of cool, yeah. Definitely that we have those kind of roots in comedy. The school doesn't push them, though. I wish that they would, They kind of hold up other alums who did.
Why don't they have them come back, like pay them to come back and like do shows for you guys? Because they do. Some of them do stand up.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I don't know. But the school doesn't necessarily push the people in the arts that have gone on to have success as much as people who went into like finance and other crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird how higher education, like how like the arts, like I don't know. I just I was an English major. I graduated as an English major, but I was a communications major for the first year, and I didn't. I mean, I kind of like what I learned from communications, but I didn't see it as a career path because, like, I don't know. I'm working in this, like, television production like, I want to do comedy, Yeah. The whole time I'm just thinking, like, what, like, we could do that's funny, but it's, like, the whole time you're just, like, learning the basics, people, like, being in front of a camera, people are nervous, like, it's just, like, it wasn't, I'm like, I don't think I could do 4 years of this because, like, I want to, like, just be funny in front of the camera or write something that's funny for the camera. You know what I mean?
I think that's something that's super valuable, too. It's like, so communications, you can love it, and if you want to do comedy stuff, it's certainly applicable, but, like, your comedy stuff isn't gonna be what it would be. Like, majoring in communications doesn't make up, because at its very foundation, it has to be funny. You have to be funny.
Yeah.
So the communications like degree would just kind of help with that, like help on the back end, but it doesn't make something. I always thought, cause I also like did liberal arts and whatever in college. I wasn't an English major, but we have a lot of the same skills, and you think about the same things. You can tell that somebody's good at comedy because they're a good writer, and they have those skills. I don't think you can be dumb and be good at comedy. I think it requires a certain level of skill, and a liberal arts education does help with that.
Yeah. Not necessarily. You don't necessarily have to be educated though to be a good comedian, though.
Right. It's not It's not like a how highly educated are you, or did you go to Harvard and Yale? But you have to be intelligent and intelligence isn't something that's dictated by where you went to school or whatever. But certainly, I think my education did help me in developing like certain writing skills and the way you can think about things and kind of pick them apart.
Yeah.
To find what's humorous in them.
So, like, who did you look up to, like, as like a comedian, like growing up?
So, growing up, I had 2 comedy specials on DVD. They were Jerry Seinfeld, I'm telling you for the last time.
I never had the DVD. I had the CD of that special, though.
Yep.
I listened to it 100 times, probably.
Yep. I watched that religiously growing up, and I had Bill Cosby himself. And those were the 2 that I grew up with.
Would your parents only let you listen to clean comedy?
No.
That was just the ones you went for.
They were just the ones that we
cleanest
had.
specials you could possibly.
Yeah, I guess so. And I recently watched back Jerry Seinfeld himself because it's on Netflix now. And in watching it, I was like, wow, I really loved this when I was like 9. But now doesn't do anything for me. I didn't find it particularly.
It's
good.
very dry. Jerry Seinfeld's very dry.
Jerry Seinfeld is. I guess you don't pick up on it when you're younger, but Jerry Seinfeld is pretty negative as a comic. Like, it's always, like, observational, but, like, kind of like an I'm better than this thing. Rather than... But, like, when you're young, you kind of see him as, like, it's kind of like a nice guy. Because he doesn't have a particularly...
Well, the older he gets, you realize the reason he wanted to do comedy in the first... It's like, you would think that, like, people do comedy because they like other people and they want to make them laugh. It's like, I almost get the vibe with him. It's like he wanted to do comedy so he could be rich and not have to deal with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Not to, like, completely shit on Seinfeld, but, like, just to do it a little more before we stop, I did just listen to the interview he did with Marin, like, the first interview Marin did after his girlfriend died was Seinfeld, and they were just talking about all sorts of stuff, and, like, Marin called him out on some Scientology bullshit, and I found that kind of interesting, and, like, Jerry Seinfeld, I feel like his, like, whole... like, ethical kind of behavior thing, like, following in the footsteps of, like, Bill Cosby, or at least before he did all that shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, Seinfeld is a character in and of himself. When he was, in his 30s, doing the show Seinfeld, he was dating a girl who was, like, 17. Like...
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Too.
It's not illegal, but it's still a little weird.
I'm pretty sure that is illegal, right?
17 is the age of consent in New York.
Really?
Yep.
Ugh. I don't know. It's still a child, though. I would say.
It's still a little weird. Like, even when I was in college, I was like that. Like, a college freshman versus a college junior is like a whole different thing. It's like, yeah, you're all in the same place, but there's a maturity thing there. Like,
I mean, I don't know. I do have a lot of respect for Seinfeld, though.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, him and Larry David together in a writer's room, it's like, there's nothing better. It's like comedic nirvana, I think. Mm. That's why the show Seinfeld worked so well, Anyways, fucking, I'm telling you for the last time, and himself. So it's like, how'd you feel like when, like, you found out Cosby was a monster?
I was shocked, especially given, like, all of his comedy is anecdotes about his family. Like, it's...
Well, I think, like you and everybody else, it took a very long time to digest that he was a monster,
Right, because it was just... we say branding is everything, and it really is. And that was just very off-brand for everything that we'd come to expect of Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Well, he was this family man who, pushed education as being super important and was, like, a massive donor at, like, Temple and all this stuff. And then, so to see him doing something like that, it was like...
Well, it's like, yeah, the Huxtables were like a family you held in high regard.
Right.
Like, it's like you want to be educated like the Huxtables, not like the Bundys that are just like a bunch of fucking animals.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way television was at the time. And I think, like, it wasn't until, like, years later where he wasn't doing anything that you can finally go after him for, like, all his misdeeds, you know? I don't know. What else you want to talk
I don't know, so, like, I looked up to, I watched Seinfeld and Cosby, of course. I think I took more from Seinfeld away in terms of my own act,
right?
what I do. It's kind of similar, and I'm yelling about things I'm upset about, but it's, the tone is different. I do a lot more, there's a lot more passion in it, I think.
You know something I had when I was a kid that I thought was really fucking, like, cool? I think it actually influenced me a lot more than I think. Jerry Seinfeld wrote this, like, Halloween book for children, and he was a kid in the book. And it was just his stand-up routine
about like, Superman with the mask and everything?
Yeah. Did you have that?
I didn't have the book, but I remember that from that special. I think it was in that special.
It was just his stand-up bit about fucking Halloween, and that was the whole book. And I was like, it actually made me realize as a young kid that, like, fucking, like, writing, it's like what writing means in being a stand-up comic, a stand-up comic. Because if that works as a book and works as, like, a stand-up, like, bit, then fucking, like, you could do, like, anything with your material, you know?
Yep.
Like, it's like, I think that, like, it made me realize that that being a stand-up comic is work. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be able to publish a book about your bit if your bit wasn't, like, fucking worth something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of feel like, especially lately, that, like, comedians should never apologize for their material, no matter what it is. Because, I don't know, seeing Tina Fey and Jimmy Kimmel, like, going through what they're going through in the news right now, how do you feel about that?
So, I'm kind of torn, because, of course, like, people doing blackface is not something that affects me. It's not my place, in terms to make the decision, because, if you guys don't know what I look like, I am, a straight white male. So, but again, I feel like times are different, and regardless of whether it was definitely wrong. It's always been wrong, but more socially acceptable.
But here's the thing, like, it's like you even, like, started the answer to the question with, it's like, blackface is wrong, and it's like, yes, I agree with you. Blackface is wrong. It's like, that shouldn't be something. But I feel like there's a lot to talk about with this, because here's the question: is a white guy playing a black character blackface? Is it the same thing? Like, when on Saturday Night Live, when who's the guy that plays Obama? Because he's a white guy.
Who did Obama? I thought it was Fred
Armisen. He's not black.
He's he's not black, but I don't think he's white either. I think he's like some kind of Hispanic and also Asian at the same time.
So is that blackface?
No, I like that's not entirely the same issue. I don't think. I think it's like when people are actually, like, changing the color of their skin, like putting stuff on, and it's just. But it's also kind of like, I always think about, like, what were they attempting to do?
Well, I know they took the episode. What we're talking about, folks, is the episode of 30 Rock they took off of streaming services because it, quote unquote, had a blackface joke in it. But have you ever seen the movie Tropic Thunder?
Yep.
How does that movie work?
So I think it's the same kind of thing with, if you've watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. What are they doing with the blackface, and they're pointing out just the stupidity and absurdity of it.
Yes.
And you're not supposed to, hold those characters in any kind of high regard, which I think that's where part of the issue comes in, is that in today, like, people watch a TV show and they fall in love with a character, and you see it all the time with things like The Office, and I think actually all the people on the show are terrible people, but people fall in love with the character.
Right.
So then it's like, we're supposed to accept them, we're supposed to, like, love them, but it's like, no, you're not supposed to hold the character in high regard. They're a shithead. Like, that's it's different when you're viewing the character the way that they're supposed to be viewed.
Okay, so here's my thing with which is the reason I brought up Tropic Thunder, which is obviously there is blackface involved in it, but the movie is a satire. These characters are not good people. You're not supposed to watch the movie and go, "Ooh, I'm gonna go do blackface." It's not racism. It's just presenting racial issues to you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's almost like Lenny Bruce, what he did on stage. He used the N-word in his act, and it wasn't to offend black people. It was to present racial issues, which I think is exactly what that episode of 30 Rock was doing too. This is a show that's a satire. It's a show that is on NBC, but it's showing you how stupid the people that work for NBC are.
Yeah.
It's a show. What you're watching is a show within a show.
Right.
You're watching it's not the show that's showing you the blackface. It's the show within the show.
Yeah.
So you're not watching racism. You're watching racism being presented to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's because they're jokes, but what's funny about them isn't the racism. The racism is not the funny part. It's the person acting in the way that they do, like thinking that like these things are okay. Because the characters that they had on 30 Rock doing it, it's Jenna. It's this vapid, self-absorbed person, who's doing blackface in the episode, and it's just people who just are completely out of
here's
touch.
the problem. When Tina Fey goes and apologizes for the joke, don't apologize for the joke. Fucking, just because you don't have this time to sit there and explain satire to people doesn't mean you should be apologizing for your fucking material. You apologizing is admitting your guilt, admitting you did something wrong, which you were not doing. You were, do you think fucking Lenny Bruce ever decided to apologize for what he was doing? No, he explained why he was fucking right. And he kept doing it until he was fucking dead. And that's what I feel like a comedian really needs to do nowadays. Buckle down. Defend your fucking material.
Yeah. I might have a different outlook on things just because I started doing it in college.
Blackface?
No. Absolutely, yeah, definitely. That's what I was doing, It's my favorite part. Just stand-up. So I kind of already had internalized the censorship that's more prominent now, that's coming for, things that people have to apologize for. Like, you've seen most of my jokes. They don't really toe a line or ever go past it just because, all of those restrictions, I've internalized them. So I figured out how to be really funny without having to do that kind of material. And I haven't felt the need to, kind of go into it at this point.
Well, I feel like you're not looking to push the envelope, and neither am I. I've never been looking to push the envelope.
Right.
But at the same time, you gotta defend. I feel like if someone's especially nowadays, those people at the Hungry Tiger were so offended by jokes that were so stupid, just stupid fun jokes.
And I guess that's a different story. Something like that, something like you being fake offended about a Christopher Columbus statue or what, that's something I would definitely defend because that's just people not even paying attention at all to understand that it doesn't.
There could have been a whole group of Native Americans sitting there and probably would have laughed at that joke. You know what I mean? while the one white guy is offended by the fucking joke for no fucking reason.
Because you're not and you weren't. You were being a character, more or less. I mean, you are Italian and deliver pizzas, but you're doing a character when you're talking about being upset about the Columbus statue. Now, you're not actually taking a stance. It's not you speaking. So it's just those are things I would defend. But something, I think there's a line of things that I would defend, but also I wouldn't cross that line in saying certain things. I have jokes that I guess kind of my joke about astigmatism, and it's really it's.
Let's dissect the joke, because I wanna know why I might be offended by the joke.
So, the joke is basically a misunderstanding, a misuse of the word astigmatism.
Okay.
So I say that I have astigmatism, but then go on to say, and people are always proud and surprised that for somebody to get up on stage and talk about it, and then I say that it affects everyone on the astigmatism spectrum differently, because astigmatism sounds like autism. So it's a misunderstanding of what those two words are.
Right.
And then basically I close it with, finding out when I had it, and it's that I was getting a flu shot when I was, really young, and then they told me that I had astigmatism. So it actually ends up being an anti-vax joke, a joke about, and I'm just don't get a flu shot unless you have vision on your health insurance. That's the punchline. That's the punch. So it's a joke about, just completely being so stupid and misunderstanding the word, and then also talking about being anti-vax and also just an idiot with that. So it's
So it's almost a similar premise to the Columbus joke. Almost.
Yeah, it's I guess on the surface level it's about autism, but it's not about it. If you don't pay attention, that's what it's about. But if you're paying attention, it's not.
All I gotta say is, what if someone came up to you with let's say Paul, who does have autism, told you he was offended by the joke? Would you apologize for it?
No, I think I would. That's something that it's simple enough to understand to walk through it, and explain that it's not at all making fun of people with autism. It's about just how I guess dumb and inconsiderate people can be about certain things, and just not getting
but
it.
But that's what I think Tina Fey should have done. Fucking actually explain to fucking news reporters But it's is that really the best move though? At the same time, to explain to every news reporter what fucking satire is.
Yeah, I just I mean, if you're somebody in Tina Fey's position, I think explaining yourself.
But it's all ridiculous. The first time I ever heard the name Barack Obama was watching the TV show 30 Rock when I was in high school. You know what I mean? Where it's I don't know. I feel and she was a huge supporter of Barack Obama, and
Right.
I think one of the people that kind of helped him get his position. You know what I mean? So it's to turn around and be this show's so fucking racist.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Mm. Yeah, and it's just, but it gets to a point if you're somebody in Tina Fey's position, does defending it to the death, is that worth your time, or is it just easier to let it go when you have such, it's not a cornerstone of, her comedic career. She's done so much else. Is she gonna?
But at the same time, you're watching 30 Rock. I want to know how Jack Donaghy goes from the mailroom to back into his CEO position in that episode. We're missing a part of the story now. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
why couldn't they just take that one part of the episode?
Yeah, because the scene isn't super relevant to the plot points that need to be.
Exactly, it's just a joke.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. When they come for you, I don't know.
I don't know, man. We got about 15 minutes left. What else do you want to talk about? I think we covered a lot of stuff already.
Oh, we
No,
have.
no. I kind of asked you who you liked growing up, but like when you were in college, who was influential to you? Because I kind of want to know that, because that's really when you kind of started.
Right. So I am terrible. I don't watch a ton of stand-up comedy. My favorite is Mitch Hedberg, and I think it's because he does something that I don't do, and he just has a very, I don't know. It's kind of, you hear the joke and you're like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah,
It's
he's
just
like
so freaking clever.
He's the king of the one-liner, basically.
Yeah, it's just right in front of you, but you didn't think of it the whole time. So I love watching him, and I wish that he had been, and also just his delivery, and kind of like, I don't know, the way he spoke with like his cadence was very unique. So I love watching him. I didn't
Guy died too young.
Yeah, he definitely did, and it's unfortunate. I think we were going to get a lot of good stuff out of him, but I'm trying to think who else I watched. I watched quite a bit. I used to watch Louis a lot. I used to watch. I've seen all the Mulaney specials, I think.
Yeah, you seem like a Mulaney guy.
Yeah, he kind of, I guess, in terms of personality, like kind of who you are on stage.
It's almost like a young Seinfeld in a way.
Right. He does the suit. He's pointing things out. It's very observational. But I think in terms of the voice, I'd say Mulaney. It makes sense. He's up there, but he's not, your typical, kind of masculine comic. He's talking about things that are very different, and he doesn't. He's not the most masculine, macho guy up there. Which I would think is something that is a similarity that we would have. Not to compare myself to a guy who's probably at the top of comedy right now, but
okay. No, I kind of I think you're the type of guy who kind of like see your own flaws and you kind of ride with that.
Yeah.
Would you? I don't know. I almost want you to elaborate on that, but I didn't really pose it in a form of question.
Right. So it's when I'm on stage, I'm not being a different person. I'm a characterization of myself, more so than a character. I'm not changing who I am, but I'm focusing on a very distinct aspect of my personality. So a caricature would probably be the right word.
Yeah.
When you go to Disney World or whatever, somebody does a character painting, and it's like, oh, you have a big nose, so they accentuate it.
Yeah.
So I'm accentuating, the more, I guess, fiery aspects of my personality, because I'm Irish, so I'm pissed off all the time, but then I'm also Italian, so I will yell about it, and that's what I'm highlighting on the stage. But it's never to paint, kind of what's wrong with other people. People should be looking at it like, this kid. He's a little bit unstable, but he's self-aware about it.
Yeah.
And just highlighting it, and then playing into the fact that, like, I'm not, your typical, like, I look like most of the people who do comedy, and that's straight white men, but personality-wise, certainly different, and the material that I do is certainly different. Play into the fact that, I don't always look that part, with the way I dress, with the way I talk, with the things I talk about, and how I talk about myself. So I accentuate them because it's something that sets me apart ultimately from other people that I look like.
Right. What you were saying, something you were saying in there, kind of like made me realize I think you are like Seinfeld in a way that's like I think you look at the little things in life and like kind of blow them up.
Yeah.
You get angry about them, like. Getting angry about the little things in life is what kind of like, I don't know. It kind of gives you a whole world of observational humor. You know what I mean?
Like, it's like Seinfeld-esque, but like acknowledging the fact that I have an axe to grind, I guess, and being very impassioned about it, but also making sure that it's something so stupid and insignificant that people realize that I'm intending to be humorous with it, and that really I'm the butt of my own joke for being such a psychopath, for lack of a better word.
Psychopath?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've seen me get up there and yell for 4 minutes about something that doesn't matter. And then that's, I've gotten into laundry listing just any grievance I have on any topic now. Past relationships, things like that. So,
right. Well, I think we're kind of winding down now. But is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything you want to get in there to for the people to know out there?
For sure. You can listen to me every Wednesday on the Meat Slap podcast, hosted by Kate Clancy and Brian Bargunier. I have my own little segment there, Right Place, Wronged Pumpkin, where I will be highlighting all of the latest grievances I have with the world for about 10 minutes. And then, of course, check out publicaccessandchill.com. For all things Public Access and Chill, check out the Pumpkin Patch, specifically Episode 2, with the host of the 1,000 Comics podcast, Matt Heath himself, making an appearance. And, reach out to us. You want to do a comedy show in your yard? Hit us up. Come to us and we will come talk about our dicks in your yard.
All right. That was pretty good fucking plug there, man. Yeah, I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff on this episode. What do you think?
Hell yeah, you get the whole kind of flavor of pumpkins, the pumpkin spice.
All right, sure. I feel like there's one more thing. I feel like as soon as we turn off the mic, there was like, we should have fucking talked about that.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
Yeah, we got who I like in comedy, what I do in comedy, how I started.
What about we could talk about how much we want baseball to come back, but no one wants to hear how sad.
I don't know how many big baseball fans there are out there, but I freaking miss baseball. It was just something like, I don't know. It's the foundation for my relationship with my grandmother. I talk to her all the time because we talk about the Red Sox, and it's like you watch them every night at 7.
Yeah.
And then even if you can't watch the game, you got something to read about the next day, check in on. It's kind of a constant for 6 months of your life. Especially given, as a Red Sox fan, how disappointing 2019 was on the heels of 2018, which was just, you can't call it it's roller coaster in terms of excitement, but there were no ups and downs. It was just a hell of a season as a Red Sox fan that I don't know that I'll ever get again.
When do they say baseball is coming back? Do you know?
I think it's sometime this month. They start training camps on Tuesday, July 1st.
Oh, thank God, man! Thank God. I think that's the other thing why hecklers actually are the hecklers are going to be around more often right now, because they have you go to these bars to do stand-up comedy. And the hecklers are sitting there. There's people that wouldn't normally be heckling because they're just sitting there watching the game. Now the comedy show is all they have to take in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess because, right now, what do they have on at places like the Hungry Tiger? They had the Big Bang Theory and What the News. Those are things where you got to hear what the people are saying. But if you're watching a game, you don't need the commentary. You can just kind of watch the game.
All right, so I guess this is how we should end then, saying that we for the hecklers, tone it down a little bit out there with the heckling, but we get it. We sympathize with the fact that you are sitting in a bar and you can't watch baseball. We're here with you. You know what I mean?
I get it. I can't wait for the moment of baseball to save stand-up comedy.
Just to add some levity to it.
Yeah, baseball, save stand-up comedy so that we can, do our jokes uninterrupted.
Yes, baseball. Thank you, baseball.